Welcome to episode number 293 of the Marine Layer podcast. The Mariners take the opener against the Cardinals. We'll give our takeaways and wrap up the Mariners minor league season with playoffs going on and the season's wrapping up.
A reminder to you guys, if you want to stay on top of everything we're doing, it's all at one place. It's over at marinelayerpod.com. All our episodes can be found over there, along with our merch, which make sure to go buy your merch, especially in the middle of the playoff push. Go wear your Marine Layer Pod merch around the park. There's hats, sweatshirts, long sleeve shirts, t-shirts, whatever you might desire. It's over there. You can also sign up for our Patreon, and you can look at our live show schedule. It's all over at our website at marinelayerpod.com. And you can check us out on social media, too. It's at Marine Layer Pod.
Let's get it rolling.
The pitch from Acevedo. A drive deep to right field. Down the line. The Mariners win this game 2-1. The dream lives. They're going to the playoffs. 1-1 from Jansen. There you go. Left field. We got a tie ball game. Julio. Oh, baby, what a moment. Tie ball game at 7-7.
And we welcome you to this episode of the Marine Layer podcast, part of the Just Baseball Podcast Network. Recording here on Monday evening, September 8th, and I think the Witch's blessing lives on, Lyle. 3 in a row.
For another day, it lives on. It lives on. Can it live on the rest of the season?
Can we manifest it through the one game that this podcast will not cover? We thinking we'll do it.
Man, I hope so. That'd be great. I hope they manifest.
Make us look a lot better.
Do you want to sit here and say congratulations to the Mariners on 4 straight wins in the Etsy Witch era?
Congratulations, Mariners. You've done it. You've done it.
4 in a row. 4 in a row.
Gained a half game on the Astros tonight, too.
Yep.
You know what? Not for some guy, with all respect in the world to him, that I've absolutely never heard of on the Rangers. Like you would think, Lyle, that the Rangers and Brewers match up tonight, and you're like, all right, all the Mariners need to do is win a baseball game here at home against the Cardinals, and you'll gain a game on the Rangers as well. And your 1.5 game lead, that's actually 2.5, will go to 3.5 games by the Brewers taking care of business. But instead, some guy, with all respect to him, I've never heard of, had 5 RBIs and a grand slam today for the Rangers.
You're not even going to give the guy's name. You're that pissed. You're not even going to give his name. I'll do it.
I keep forgetting his first name. Again, it's respectfully a creative player name.
Michael Hellman, 29 years old. He was drafted in the 11th round in 2018 by the Twins, and he has played in 30 career Major League games.
Creative player. I've never heard of him, but he had the night of his life tonight and kept the Rangers within a game and a half of the Mariners. So shout out to him. Credit to him.
But again,
Mariners don't get to gain a game on them.
Again, it's really a 2.5 game lead. That is the nice thing. The Mariners having that tiebreaker over the Rangers is so key that by a 1.5 game lead, it's not really 1.5. It's 2.5. This is why the Royals continuing to lose is so important, which they did here on Monday, because that's the one team you do not have a tiebreaker over, and we talked about this on Monday's podcast. That tiebreaker hasn't been decided yet because those two teams still have 3 more games to play against each other, and you guys all know that'll be happening next week. But that's why the Royals losing, I think, is the most important of the teams remaining that can still lose.
If the Mariners gain, let's say they gain another game on the Royals this homestand, and they're 4 games up on the Royals heading into Kansas City next week, you only need to win 1.
Yeah. It'd be great if you won more.
Because then they're 3 games out with 3 series left. It would be great. Obviously, you want to win the series. But in terms of what you need to do, if you're 4 games up, you need to win 1 game.
But imagine if you won 2.
Well, then you knock them out. But this is the Mariners we're talking about, who had a chance to essentially eliminate the Guardians and eliminate the Rays on this last road trip, and instead welcome them into the playoff race with open arms. So it might not be that simple.
Oh, I almost forgot. By the Monday home win and Josh Naylor just rocketing a key double and Brian Wu spinning another 6 innings and the bullpen locking it down, I almost forgot there, Teach. Almost forgot for a second that they don't play on the road.
Sorry, dog. Hate to let you down there.
I almost forgot that it is two different baseball teams, home and road.
I have one takeaway from tonight's game, and it's not going to be Julio running through a dumb stop sign or Brian Wu returning home and absolutely shoving against the Cardinals, or that the Cardinals, wow, I want to give a shout out to the Cardinals. Great group of dudes. Very nice. We were talking to them today for our Bullpen Banner channel here on Monday. Some really nice guys. Lars Nootbaar, nice dude. Alec Burleson was very nice. Sonny Gray was nice in our brief interaction with them. It's a good group. But the Mariners beat them here on Monday.
Yes. I think we're going to get a few more of them on the mic on Tuesday. Obviously, we're sitting here recording this before we've done any more of that. But yes, you're right. Really nice group of players. Lars Nootbaar was the man, by the way. Yeah. Could not have been nicer. Meanwhile, yeah, I was just thinking about it. I mean, just like every interaction we had, good dude. By the way, another
Nolan Gorman I forgot to shout out.
Oh, right. Nolan Gorman, also very nice. Pedro Pajes, the catcher, one of the Cardinals catchers. I think I've talked about some of my old Cape Cod League connections, and both of us spent 2 summers out there when we were in college. But Pajes was another guy that was on the team that I broadcasted games for back as an intern over those 2 summers. And here on Monday was the first time in 7 years I'd seen him. But, I mean, I was a little surprised he remembered me, but shout out to him. And he was just as nice as he was all those years ago. So, yeah. Shout out the Cardinals, really awesome group of dudes, but the Mariners needed to take care of business, and that's the most important thing they did.
And honestly, they should sweep the Cardinals, because the Cardinals, looking up and down that roster, how it matches up to the Mariners and where the Mariners play, and now that they won, they're now 17-6 at home since the All-Star break, which is a remarkably good record to offset how overwhelmingly awful they are on the road. The only way you can survive being that bad on the road is to be 17-6 at home. Since the All-Star break. But my one takeaway, Lyle, from this whole game was the fact that Josh Naylor, who continues to just be amazing, doesn't matter if he's hitting or not, he always finds a way to wow me. He goes on the record today after the game and says, and I quote, "I think it's easy to hit at T-Mobile Park." I know who Teoscar Hernandez's next hitting coach needs to be.
I was going to say, can somebody out there make a really good graphic of Josh Naylor photoshopped head onto somebody's body dunking on Teoscar Hernandez? Can somebody do that? Make a photo of, it can be whatever cutout photo you want.
The like, LeBron versus the Celtics.
Yeah, ideally it's a basketball meme and it's a basketball photo that you Photoshop, but just take Josh Naylor's head, he's LeBron, and he's absolutely dunking it over whatever feeble opponent stands in his way, in this case, Teoscar Hernandez. We need a Photoshop of that, of Josh Naylor just dunking on Teoscar with the quote on there.
Shout out to him, man. He had that huge hit in the game tonight. That was great. That was my one takeaway. Otherwise, it's a standard Mariners win here on a Monday. It's exactly what they needed. They got the pitching they needed. The bullpen was really good. Brash was nasty. Munoz was nasty. Everyone was a little fired up, had a little bit of edge on them. And the team showed out, and they, despite falling behind 2-0, they come out and they put some runners on base, and they drive them in. Like, that's what they're supposed to do. That's what the Magic Etsy wish is supposed to do for you. It's supposed to just give you this kind of energy that you're supposed to need. And that no matter what happens, you know someone has your back.
Yeah. Great. We love to see it.
Well, clearly the only thing the witch didn't work on was Julio's base running. I think that was it.
You know what? The witch also worked in the sense of what Julio did in the 2 games in Atlanta.
That's fair.
So it's all right.
That's fair.
I'm not
here to trash Julio.
Yeah,
he did run through a stop sign.
I'm not saying that was a good base running decision, but Julio as a whole has been so good in the second half and so good as of late. The fact that they won and it didn't end up making a difference in the game, I think we can live with one base running blunder. I know he's had his share of base running blunders over the course of his career and over the course of this season, but I'm just not going to harp on it tonight because they won the game and it didn't end up playing a factor.
Yeah, 100%.
Do we need to mention that they're 2 back at Houston? 2 back at Houston?
It's like we said about the road trip, how it shockingly worked out okay when it came to the division.
Yeah.
As bad as the road trip was, they lost one singular game on that road trip to the Astros. And now that the Astros they had a day off here today, the Mariners were able to make up games in those final 2 games against the Braves. And now you look, it's 2 back. and you get 3 games against them, and
I'll get people's hopes up even a little bit more. I know it's a little far away to be looking 3 series ahead already to that road series against the Astros, but my buddy John already did, and he sent a couple of us a text earlier, and he mapped out what it's going to look like. The Mariners are going to throw the same 3 starters in that Astros series as they're throwing in this Cardinal series. Wu, Kirby, Gilbert, in that order. Lines up pretty well for the Mariners in terms of who you'd want on the mound. And then on top of that, unless the Astros reshuffle, they are slated to miss Hunter Brown.
that's positive. I will say they did knock Hunter Brown out of the game the last time they played him.
I'd still rather not face him and not face him in Houston.
That's right. I like to see that. Oh, Kirby's last start on the road was not very good, but we'll look past it. It is shaping up. I'm not going to say favorable yet because there's still 2 games back and there's a long way to go before that point. But especially with all these home games the Mariners get to play, and to think if the Mariners can snag that tiebreaker against the Astros, that's going to go a long way. If the Astros end up getting the tiebreaker, I believe the winner of the series gets the tiebreaker. Am I right?
That sounds right. Let me just say while you're looking this up, there is no scenario where things line up in the Mariners' favor for that series. It is going to be a really tough series. But if you want to put your best foot forward, that's pretty close to doing that. Could you argue that Bryce Miller, given his last 2 road starts, could be more favored in terms of winning percentage to be out there over Kirby? I guess. I think the Mariners are in perfectly good shape to roll out Wu, Kirby, and Gilbert in that series. That's about as good as you can get.
The season series right now is tied 5-5. I think it is pretty safe to say, barring a collapse, the winner of that series is winning the division. That tiebreaker is going to mean a lot. Especially if the Mariners want to win the division, you don't want to have to gain that extra game. We've seen what happens when you don't have a tiebreaker like the last 2 seasons. Mm-hmm. It really fucks you over.
Yeah, it does. Because if the Mariners win that Astros series, not only would they have the tiebreaker and not only would they likely be up in the division at that point, but then you immediately come back home to play the Rockies. So you got a chance to seriously take advantage and not bury, but really separate yourselves in the final week. Now, the unfortunate thing is the Astros are going to play the A's during that same stretch that the Mariners play the Rockies.
And then they get to finish with the Angels.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's as simple as whoever wins that series will win the division. But if the Mariners win that series, they're going to be in pretty good shape considering they get to come home and play the Rockies.
That's right. I do think the Mariners, if they want to win the division, need the tiebreaker. I would be kind of surprised if the Mariners win the division and don't win that tiebreaker.
Yeah.
Because that's 2 more losses. That means you lose a game. So think about with the tiebreaker sense. If you winning the series, instead of netting you 1 game, nets you 2 games. And if you sweep the series, it nets you 4 games instead of 3 because of that tiebreaker.
Let's just be clear as day. If the Mariners lose that series in Houston, they're not winning the division. Division's over if they lose that series.
Correct. And I think the Astros, well, they might not be out of it, but their lead does shrink in that case.
Yeah.
And puts them at a significant disadvantage to the Mariners. But the Mariners do have a tougher final week. So we'll see. In summary, win that series if you want to win the division, I think. I think that's the only option.
And then you don't have to go back there a week and a half later. It would force the Astros to go to Seattle.
You do. It is going to shake up, though, most likely. If the Mariners are making the playoffs, they are going to play the Astros in the first round. That seems almost certain at this point. Unless somehow, I don't think it's still mathematically possible, but it's not happening. Someone's got to catch the Blue Jays or the Tigers.
Right.
Or the Yankees or the Red Sox or whoever jumps in front of that division.
Yeah.
So if you want those games at home, you need to go into Houston and you need to win. But that's a next week problem, Lyle.
Yeah.
And I think the Mariners understand that too, for how the tiebreakers go. Why don't we jump into our minor league wrap? We have not talked about the minor leaguers a whole lot the last few weeks because there's been trade deadline, there's been lots of winning. There's been lots of losing. There's not been many spots to talk about them. So I think this is a good point. As the season is winding down now, to go through the Mariners minor league system and highlight some of the key guys in the system, what they did this season, and what we're expecting from them going forward.
That I would say that paired with storylines at this point in the year are getting a little repetitive, you guys. There's only so much we can talk about over and over and over, and you guys all know the story by now. They're in the third wildcard spot. They can't blow it. They're also still chasing Houston. They got to hold the playoff spot. Like, we all know, and we're going to continue to talk about it, but it can't be, storylines are getting a little repetitive. So as a result, let's also mix in some minor league talk with guys that deserve some praise, because the Mariners minor league system, again, had an awesome season.
Let's start at the top. Colt Emerson. Colt Emerson's story is the tale of, I think, two parts. Part number one, pre-swing change. Colt was not hitting quite as well in Everett. I think he was underperforming to his standards. But he introduces a toe tap on 6/13, on June 13th. And from that point forward, to finish the season, to the point he is at right now, slashes 307, 409, 512 with a 921 OPS, a 155 WRC+, and he looks like a top 5 prospect in baseball. I want to see what this looks like for Colt as he has a toe tap and he stays healthy for a full calendar year. Because we haven't got that, because it's been so many injuries for Colt, so many nagging things. The bat's been good. But now I think since he introduced this, the bat is transformed closer to great. And once he steps foot in Arkansas next year, where he's hitting fine in Arkansas right now, he's above average. But it's definitely
well
down
average.
From where it wasn't.
It
is above average.
131's well above average.
I'm talking about when he steps into Everett next year and potentially looks like
Arkansas.
Yeah, he steps into Arkansas next year and takes that Julio Arkansas step. Could we see that next year? Where Julio walks into Arkansas and he puts up a WRC plus of not 130, 180 in Arkansas. Does Colt have that in the tank next year? That's what I'm curious about as he goes in, because right now, offense, defense, the mindset, the makeup, I mean, it is all there.
I don't want to glaze over what he's done since that swing change, or since the toe tap was added. 920 OPS in the last 2.5 months? Dude, that's nuts. Like, let's not just let that fall by the wayside. Colt Emerson over the last 2.5 months has been, without question, one of the most dominant prospects in minor league baseball. And it's that simple. He has stayed healthy. His defense has looked awesome, and he is absolutely mashing. To your point about you want to see him fully healthy with the toe tap for a full year, I think, barring something unforeseen, that is what we're going to see in 2026. And by the way, you know where that road ends at the tail end of that year, where you want to see the toe tap the entire time? In Seattle.
Mm-hmm. And I'm totally okay with that.
That's going to be pretty exciting.
I really think he's going to come out and he's going to crush next year if he's healthy. I don't see a way how he's not going to. He's even jumping up to the new level at Arkansas right now. The numbers are down overall in Arkansas. It's a 780 OPS, but a 780 OPS in Arkansas is totally fine for him. Just getting into Arkansas this year and just getting promoted in a place that's incredibly hard to hit, I think that's a plus. I talked about it the last time we talked about Colt Emerson too. The steps he's made on defense has raised his floor so much more. Where even if Colt Emerson, when he gets up to the big league level, and even say he does this for his first 2 years or first 3 years, is somewhere from like a 780 to an 800 OPS shortstop. But then he plays the defense he's currently playing, and that right there is a top 5, top 7 shortstop in baseball already.
If he's going to be an 800 OPS shortstop with really good defense, he's going to be an all-star. Quick.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Very quick. That is an all-star shortstop.
Which is why his defense taking a step this year and step forward this year is that much more important. But we know there's more in that bat as he has an offseason to train and get ready to play at Arkansas from the get-go and not get promoted midseason. It's really cool. The only thing I think about with Colt is the slug. The slug's good, especially since the toe tap. He's slugging over 500. I did poke around and look at some other Mariners past prospects, but how much they slugged in the minors versus how much they're slugging into the majors. I don't think Colt, once he gets to the big league level, is going to be some monster power hitter. He's going to be a collective tools guy and all-around good. But if he's going to be, let's say this. If he's going to be a superstar, he probably needs to slug more. Right? Like a superstar.
Sure. That's probably fair. You're quantifying that as hitting 30 home runs a year.
25 maybe at the floor. Or floor. Maybe 25 is the area.
25, but also add 25 to 30 doubles, and he's walking a lot.
Think about the comparison. Think about this comparison here. Cole Young in Tacoma, a much better hitting environment, was slugging. What was he slugging? He was slugging around 470 in Tacoma before he got called up. That's full season, not just his hot streak. And Cole Young this year at the big league level is slugging 319. Like, there's a drop-off. Of course, there's always time to develop. Here's a good example of this. Did you know Francisco Lindor, his high slugging percentage in the minors, he was the top 10 prospect, I think top 5 in all of baseball when he got called up. His high slugging mark in the minors was 410. High school shortstop, toolsy, good defense. That was the mark. But Lindor has slugged over 500 a couple times at the big league level. So that's to show you can still develop at the big league level. That's not saying that Colt needs to prove everything before he comes up. But I'm just saying it's something to look out for in his profile. It's probably the one thing left in his toolbox that he lacks is that top-end power.
And it's not that he doesn't have power, because he does. He just doesn't have Corey Seager level power yet.
No.
Yet. And he could develop into that. He just doesn't have it yet. I know loosely that comp was thrown around for him when he was drafted, if it all clicks. And Corey Seager's got real power. He's also bigger than Colt is, Corey Seager, to be fair. But, yeah, if you're talking about Colt Emerson going from a 17 to 20 home run hitting shortstop with really good defense to a 25 to 30 home run hitting shortstop with really good defense, yeah, that's the next step. A little more slug. But again, we're nitpicking here, man. He has been so good the last 2.5 months. The jump he's made, the fact he stayed healthy. And by the way, his platoon splits are very even. There are not many more refreshing signs to see with a prospect than when they have even platoon splits offensively. Because that means you don't have to worry about plugging and playing them when they get to the big leagues. No, when Colt Emerson gets to the show, he's just going to play every day. There is not lefty-righty issues with him, which is great. If you want the exact numbers for the year, Colt Emerson against left-handed pitching is OPSing 811, and against right-handed pitching, he is OPSing 833.
It's pretty good. I think the Mariners have to be very happy with what they saw from him this year. Very happy.
Talk about a slam dunk of a draft pick. Jeez, the fact he fell as far as he did.
And it is just all worked out.
I know.
Which is great.
Now,
talk about another, what seems like slam dunk of a draft pick. That would be Ryan Sloan. So Sloan just got shut down. Actually, well, it was announced today. He's having a procedure on his eye that was going to keep him out for the rest of the season.
Well,
but I think...
Be specific. Today being Monday. This is coming out
Today being
Wednesday.
Monday, sorry. Monday, as of Monday, he is out for the rest of the season. Finishes the season a 3.73 ERA, a strikeout rate over 27%, a walk rate under 5%, and a ground ball rate at 50% as a 19-year-old. Ends the season in Everett, gets up near 100 innings this year in his first full season of professional ball. What a job the organization did keeping him healthy all year and managing to put him in a spot where he can be as successful as he can be this year. Talk about working out. Like, Cole Emerson might have been best case scenario this year. I think we could say the same thing with Ryan Sloan.
Look, he was a first rounder. He was a first round talent. He got first round money. He just fell to the second round. The Mariners, again, they got super creative with their draft last year, pounced on it, and man, did that work. Because Sloan, Dude, his FIP for the year in Modesto, 2.9. You're talking about a kid who's 19 years old, just getting his feet wet in professional baseball. 2.9 FIP in Modesto, where he essentially spent his entire year. He only made 3 starts in Everett. So to do what he did...
That was the best mark in the entire league.
Yeah, in all the California League, he led all pitchers in FIP. All qualified pitchers with minimum 60 innings pitched. Do I have that right? 60 innings?
Yeah, it was 60 innings.
Yeah. So you're talking about a 19-year-old that fills up the zone, has big-time stuff, already throws heat with the fastball, very repeatable delivery, stays healthy. You cannot ask much more from Ryan Sloan and what he did in year 1. And by the way, this procedure he had on his eye to quote-unquote end his season, Everett's about to start their playoffs. He would have made maximum 1 more start. It's not really ending his season. He's just not going to make his final start. I think, yeah. and it's a 2 to 3 week recovery. It's not serious.
And a non-baseball injury. This is something he had dealt with for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm very happy with what we saw from Sloan this year. Just to think, like, the combination of strikeouts, walks, and ground balls in a high school arm. I'm thinking back to some of the other high school arms the Mariners have drafted, which, by the way, not a lot of them. Ryan Sloan has had the most successful season of all of them. Probably from a total rate perspective in his first year.
Yeah.
Ashton Izzy had a pretty good ERA his first full season, but the strikeouts, walks, and ground balls were not the same. And he was not as highly touted as a prospect as Sloan is. Sloan, you have expectations for him, and I think he's going to have the hype train moving next year.
How high can he get next year? Could we see him in Double-A by the end of the year? I feel like the answer is yes.
Oh, yeah, I think so. I think he'll follow the same timeline roughly as he did this year, given that he gets stretched out a little bit. I want to see, next year is going to be the year he's going to start pitching into the 6th inning. He didn't pitch past the 5th inning at all this year on his innings limit, finishing with 82 innings. So it's going to be 6th inning. It's going to be pitching into the 6th inning. It's going to be getting up to probably 120 innings with that right arm, I would like to see. And then it's going to be, getting up to Arkansas. And he's going to pitch well in Arkansas because that stadium caters very well to pitchers. And his ERA is going to be very low, and perhaps his strikeout rate is going to be even higher up at that level. And to think he could do all of that at 20, as long as he stays healthy, I think is a really good thing.
I don't know if he'll quite get stretched out to 120 innings. That feels slightly aggressive. I feel like you'll see more between 100 and 105 next year. He's still only 20. What did Logan Gilbert throw in his rookie year in the big leagues despite being a college arm? I think he was on about 130 innings limit.
He also took the previous year off.
He did, but he threw 120 innings that year. You're right, the year off makes a difference. But with Sloan, I'd be a little surprised if they jumped him all the way from 80 to 120. I would guess you'll see between 100 and 105. And then come 2027, which at this rate, if it keeps going, we could see Ryan Sloan in the big leagues in 2027. And if that's the case, maybe that year he'd be more like 120 to 130 innings.
This isn't the easiest comparison. Like, I was looking at our friend Mikey Morales, and his draft year, he threw 1 inning. Then he comes out his first year in the minors and throws 120, then 101, then 150 innings. That's not a good comparison.
Doesn't it feel like the Mariners have changed their blueprint on that since then? Because they didn't even come close to doing that with Ryan Sloan.
This could be Sloan specific.
It could, although I don't think Sloan battled injuries in high school, did he?
No, but he might have pitched less in high school than Morales did.
That's true.
I'm speculating 100% on this guy. By the way, guys, just don't take this as a fact coming out of my mouth. But it was clear, regardless of how they approached it, it was clear they were limiting his innings on purpose this year. Mm-hmm. And they're going to want to stretch him out a little bit more next year. Talking about platoon splits also with Ryan Sloan, he dominated both sides. OPS under 700 against both lefties and righties. Strikeouts, walks, ground balls, platoon splits. Outside of a couple of rough starts at a new level, man. It's literally the full package of a pitcher.
Again, he's already as big as guys like Logan Gilbert. Nearly. You're talking about a guy who stands at 6'5", 220. that is a guy that's going to move through the system, especially with the stuff that plays, the amount of strikes he throws. You said it best, man. The hype train on Ryan Sloan next year is going to be moving. Really moving.
Before we get to our next guy, you want to get to an ad?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's sit and talk to you guys about our friends over at Pagach's Pub 85. You guys know it's over in Kirkland. It's a really awesome spot, whether you want to watch some games with your friends. There's 20 TVs in that place, have some awesome food, play some games, or have great happy hour drinks, which those deals, you guys, are 2 to 6 p.m. from Monday through Friday. And the happy hour deals, $3 and $4 drinks. Yeah, those are awesome specials. Again, 2 to 6 p.m., that's Monday through Friday. It's an awesome spot to hang out. That's Pagach's Pub 85 over in Kirkland.
How about Lazaro Montes, Lyle?
Yeah, let's rip through a few more of these. I think the storyline with Laz is the same that it's been all year when we've talked about him. Massive power, draws his walks, strikeout rates too high. Is there that much more to dive into with the guy? The key with Laz is he is going to have to cut down on these strikeouts at some point. He doesn't have to strike out 10% of the time. That's not a realistic expectation. He doesn't even have to strike out 20% of the time. But it can't be 31, 32%. Because if you're striking out that much in Double-A, if you get up to the majors, that's where it shoots up to, I don't even want to think about it, 40%? That's an untenable number. So at some point, this has to get cut down. The home runs and the walks give him the potential to be a Kyle Schwarber type bat, which is awesome. Kyle Schwarber, you guys, is having a season where he could get close to 60 home runs in his own right. And that's a guy who hits a ton of homers and he walks. He doesn't play a ton of defense, but he's incredibly valuable in his own right. Got to cut the strikeouts down. And Kyle Schwarber strikes out, but you got to cut it down if you're Laz a little bit.
Let me offer one negative point and one positive point here. The negative point. We've talked about platoon splits. Laz has them. Not surprising as a left-handed hitter, especially as a 20-year-old. There are some better lefties at the Double-A level and at high A that he's facing. So his OPS is under 700 against lefties, and it's 946 against righties. But let me say a positive one. Let me read you two sets of numbers, and you tell me what they are. 120 WRC plus and 31% strikeout rate, and a 120 WRC plus and a 29% strikeout rate.
One of these is obviously going to be Laz, and the other is going to be... Who are you trying to get me with here?
It's a trick question. They're both Laz. The first number is Laz getting promoted to Arkansas this year. The last number was Laz getting promoted to Everett last year. Sorry. Arkansas this year, Everett last year. First number is Arkansas, second number is Everett. Sound pretty similar, don't they?
They do, but there's still a common denominator, which is the strikeouts have to come down.
Then Laz showed up to Everett this year and struck out less.
He did. A little bit less.
He managed to cut down on the strikeouts. He was able to improve that. But you are right. So the number that Laz is currently running, just to give you an idea of the sort of drop-off he has had in contact since he's jumped up the levels. Yeah, so Laz dropped his strikeout rate 2% this year in Everett. So a little bit, but probably still not enough. Laz, when he got to Modesto, his only stint really, where he did not strike out that much, it was a sub-20 strikeout rate. His contact rate was 72%, which is fine. It's now 58% in Arkansas. That number it's a pretty significant drop-off for Laz, who has a big strike zone. He's got a big swing. He's trying to hit for power. Some strikeouts are going to come when he's going to try and walk, meaning he's going to work some deep counts. So you understand that'll be part of it. But he's going to have to make some more contact. Just in general, strikeouts are the number, but just swinging and making contact at pitches in the zone is very important for him, especially because he doesn't play defense, and he doesn't. Yeah, because of that body profile, he's going to have to hit.
Has to. And Kyle Schwarber's career strikeout rate in the big leagues, just over 28%. 28.3% if you want to be exact. And again, you guys, if Laz strikes out 28, 29% of the time in the big leagues, but is going to hit all these homers and have ridiculous power, that's fine. His strikeout rate can live there if he's going to walk and he's going to absolutely mash. What can't happen is it bleeds into the 37-38% range in the big leagues, because no big leaguer can sustain that and have success. And if he's striking out this much in Double-A, the signs point to that taking a sizable jump when he gets to the big league. So a very, 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 I can't say very enough times, very big key for Laz in 2026 is he has got to cut those strikeouts down. He just has to. If he can strike out 24, 25% of the time in Arkansas next year for half a year, that bodes a little bit better. Over time, it's still going to have to come down more, but that would show some real improved plate approach to the 31, 32% rate that he's been running out for a while.
And he's 20 years old this year. He'll be 21 years old next year playing, and 22 years old the year after that. So if it takes him a little bit to get that contact rate up, that's fine. He's still got plenty of runway to come up and still be a very young big leaguer. Let's talk about another one of his Double-A teammates, another hitter, Lyle, Michael Arroyo. For Michael Arroyo, he's been so consistent. I literally don't even know what else I need to say about Michael Arroyo, besides the fact that he has a chance this year, if he keeps his on-base percentage over 400, to have a 400 on-base percentage in each his age 17, 18, 19, and 20 seasons. There's not an easy lookup tool for that, for minor league stats, but I'd imagine the group he'd be in with that, if he finishes that off, was really impressive.
He is not even close the most slept-on prospect in this entire system. And I get it. He's slept on because there are questions about where he's going to play defensively long-term. Can he stick at a position? He's not the world's greatest athlete. But, dude, he just hits nonstop. It doesn't end with him. And if he's going to hit like that throughout his time in the minors, you better believe they're going to find a spot for him at some point. If you hit like that, they will find a spot for you. And if Michael Arroyo hits anything close to that in the majors, they will find a spot, even if it's DH. So I am just fascinated to see what Arroyo does next year, where he probably gets closer to a full year in Double-A, because the 50 or so games he's played in Double-A this year have been fine. It hasn't been otherworldly. His OPS is about 720. This is really the first time he has struggled, not the right word, but this is really the first time he hasn't dominated a league, which makes sense. This is what happens when players, especially players as young as Michael Arroyo, make the jump from high A to Double-A. It's the toughest jump in the minor leagues, and it's not close. High A to Double-A is the toughest jump. But if he comes out next year and he's OPSing 840 in Arkansas, I mean, they're going to have to find a spot for this guy. Unless he's traded, they're going to have to find a spot for him. Because if you hit like that, you're going to play.
Well, I'm sitting here and talking. I want you to pull up a highlight of his, because I was watching his highlights while I was getting ready for this episode, and I saw a swing, and I couldn't get it out of my mind, a comparison. Do you have his swing up?
I know.
Or do you think you can remember it off the top of your head?
No, I know his swing. You can tell me.
Okay. Howie Kendrick?
Oh, I could see that a little bit. Shorter infielder.
And then the swing itself, he kind of dips over the plate. Howie was always really down on the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't get it out of my head when I saw it. I was like, I've seen this swing before.
Mm-hmm.
One of the smarter prospect people that we have on, Jason Churchill, Joe Doyle, one of them, have to let me know whether or not that comparison's outlandish or not.
Yeah. And by the way, you guys, Howie Kendrick in 15 years in the big leagues had a career OPS plus of about 110, which is a really good career. If Michael Arroyo were to do that, that's an awesome career for a guy who ranks as the, per MLB Pipeline, number 6 prospect in the system. A lot of outlets like our friends over at Just Baseball have him even lower than that. If you're number 8, 9 prospect, whichever system and whichever ranking you want to use is going to do that, I mean, take it right to the bank.
Here's the most intriguing prospect in the system, I think, for next year, Lyle. Johnny Farmello. Is that fair?
Yes, because unfortunately, this was essentially a lost season for him. Maybe in some ways, the fact he dealt with that side issue actually let him rehab the knee even longer, and it'll let him just explode next year. But yes, what Johnny's going to have to prove in 2026 is what Colt had to go prove this year in 2025. can you stay healthy for the majority of the year? And can you also go out there and live up to the ceiling? That's going to be Johnny's big, it's not question mark, because everybody knows that his ceiling as a prospect is really high, because it is. When you run like him and play great defense and hit for that type of power and have the chance to be a 30-30 player, because that's who he is. That's who he could be. The key for him is he's going to have to go out there, stay healthy, and show some of that ceiling.
We talked to Johnny about this when we were up in Everett. The main thing I want to see answered next year, it's not just health. Which version of Johnny Farmelo is more like the one we're going to see that's healthy? We've seen two different versions of him. We've seen insanely high contact, lots of doubles, lots of walks, on base, stealing bases, and we've seen the slugging version of Johnny Farmelo. It'll be great to be both, but I'm curious which one is closer to what he's going to be as his ideal hitter.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be more like the one he was in his first year. I just don't think Johnny is going to be the type to sit on his back foot and just try and drive the ball over the wall. He's also not going to be playing in Everett the whole time, where you can hit a ball 444 feet and hit it over the wall. He's going to, if he's going to do that at different levels, he's going to actually need to drive it.
You mean 344 feet?
Yeah, 340. Did I say 200?
You said 444, and that's out in any ballpark.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, except the Polo Grounds. But in Everett, the short home runs definitely help Johnny. How's he going to look in bigger ballparks? I do feel like it is more like him when his knee's healthy and he's feeling great and he's able to run around and steal bases, that his 2024 self is a little bit more up that alley.
And he only played in about 20 games this year. So the small sample we saw from Johnny this year, where he was hitting for a little more power, but there was less contact, who's to say that's even really him? And it was not just a certain stretch of a year, because Johnny Farmelo could have 20 games next year during a full healthy season where he hits for more power, has a little bit less contact, but then he has a different 20-game stretch where he looks more like the Johnny in 2023. In 2024, I should say. But yeah, I think he's going to be closer to what he was when he was drafted, what he was in 24 before the injury. Because you're right, he doesn't feel like the guy that's just going to sell out for power. He's got too much else to his game. He's too disciplined as a hitter. So yeah, I think you're going to see more of the 2024 version of Farmelo, and not as much what you saw in 20 games this year. Because not only was it a small sample, but again, he was so often on the field, and he was still battling the injury. I just think this was unfortunately a lost season for Johnny. Even though when he was on the field, he had some really, really high moments, because he hit some big homers in a handful of games before he had the side issue. I think it's hard to judge what he did this year for the most part. It's not saying it's bad. It's not saying it's good. It's just a wash for me.
And there's a chance we haven't even seen what Johnny Farmelo really is yet, because he's only played 75 professional games.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a lot of games.
No.
He's got a long way to go.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to see it next year where he's healthy and he's going to go out there and he's going to crush it. The last name with, I think, any storylines to talk about for next year that I wrote down is going to be Durangelo going into next season. Now, Durangelo, I thought his stuff was very good this year. The stuff as advertised from the right side was really good. Earned his promotion to Double-A and performed well up there. He had some long outings this year. He pitched 7 innings, ticked a lot of boxes off. The season numbers as a whole, I don't know how much the prospect evaluators will look into the fact he has a FIP over 5 and an ERA over 4.5. Some of that came when he was a reliever. Some of that came when he was pitching left-handed. So you can always asterisk it a little bit. But I will say, there is one thing I would say we know for certain about this season, is that when he throws right-handed and he pitches against right-handed batters, it's over.
Here's the best way to describe it, because you can look at splits as a starter and as a reliever. Here's what Durangelo Sanger did this year as a starter. Through just under 100 innings, ERA was 3.64. Opponents hit 205 against him. that tells more of the story. As a reliever,
I agree.
when they were trying that thing early in the year where he would make an appearance a week as a lefty out of the bullpen, his ERA is 40. That's a real number. It was 40 because he threw a very small amount of innings and it didn't go great. In 3 different appearances, he gave up 9 runs. That ballooned his ERA, where you look at Girangelo's numbers for the year, and it's skewed. The number you should be looking at is what he did as a starter. And as a starter, he had a 3.64 ERA in 96 innings. And by the way, struck out 107 batters. That was Girangelo St. Jeff.
Yeah, it's pretty good. The walk rate is a little high. The command was not all the way there. But I do think that is something that can improve. It wasn't... You could definitely see the command difference between... I will acknowledge there's a level difference too, but between Sloan and Girangelo, there's a command difference there.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. It will be very interesting to see when spring training hits next February what they decide to do with Girangelo. Are they just going to shut down the left side? Will they continue to let him do it? We'll see, because there is no question what he can do as a right-handed pitcher screams that he has a ceiling that's very, very easy to dream on. But
the only other thing
do they just focus on the right side? Because they said in time this was going to work itself out. They wanted to let him try throwing both ways. They wanted to let him do it. He wanted to do it. But will the Mariners ultimately tell him to just go from the right side starting in 2026? Or will Girangelo himself just say, you know what, it was fun to try this for a year. I've done it for a long time, but it is a lot of work and a lot of extra preparation to try to throw from both sides, and I had so much more success with the right side. Maybe it's time to just focus with one.
And it is a Grand Canyon difference of results between the two.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, right on right, OPS allowed is 490. Left on left, which is supposed to be what he's going to use his left side for, is over 1,000.
Yeah.
I mean, it could not be any starkly different. I would think if Girangelo wants a chance at making the big leagues next year, it would be probably only right. He could keep his left arm in his back pocket. I don't think the Seattle Mariners at the big league level are going to let him throw left-handed in that uniform.
Seems unlikely.
Yeah, it seems unlikely. Also, he does, in terms of like one other little nitpicky thing, he didn't get lefties out in general this year, even when pitching right-handed. It was an OPS over 900. That's probably the other thing he would need to work on. But in his first professional season, the 3.6 ERA as a starter, over 100 strikeouts, dominant stuff, throws 100, slider was great. I mean, it's a thumbs up for Girangelo on this season.
Yeah. Now, there is still a chance Girangelo could really work at throwing with both sides in the offseason continuously, and he comes into camp and he's improved some of the lefty stuff, and he's getting more lefties out. That's not impossible. Just seems like we're tracking on the more likely scenario of he will be what most people expected him to be when he was drafted, which is a really good right-handed pitcher, and that is more than okay, because Girangelo as a right-handed pitcher has the chance to be a real star in the rotation.
I also think of the psychological aspect of it, where it's like, do I want to work twice as hard to make it to the big leagues? And maybe he does. But I'm sure he also understands he might not have to. When the big leagues is just like, it's sitting there, a big league paycheck, a big league jersey. You get everything you ever wanted, 5-star hotels, chartered flights, all of these things, everything you worked for. It's like, you only have to work half as much as you've been doing.
Right. It will be very interesting to see what storylines come out about him early in spring training next year, because I'm sure it's going to get asked. I'm sure it's going to be talked about. I will be very interested to know.
The last prospect note I have, period, in the system is the fact that Luke Stevenson has a .460 on-base percentage in 22 games in Modesto. I love to see that. Only one home run, but he's hitting pretty well in his first 22-game stint in professional ball. I did love to see that. Wonder how many PB&Js is powering that.
Oh, you took it from me. I was just ready to say. I thought you were going to tee me up for it perfectly. I'm going to pretend that you did, ignore what you said at the end, and just do it anyway. That's the power of devouring PB&Js. Don't ever question the power of devouring PB&Js.
Shout out to Luke Stevenson. Shout out to PB&Js.
He's walking more than he's striking out in Modesto.
Small sample, but yes.
Yeah.
And this isn't going to stop him, I think, from starting next year in Modesto. I would think, because he's only 20 this year, I think they'll at least start him there.
I don't know. He's also a college bat that played in a really good conference, that had a bunch of success. Cade's just going to start right in Everett. It's possible Stevenson does, especially after getting 20 games under his belt in Modesto. Does he need that much more?
I think they'll at least start him there.
It'll be interesting.
It could be like 3 weeks, and he dominates. Also, it probably depends how he plays in spring training. If he dominates spring training, then never mind.
Yeah.
Like if he does what he does here in Modesto, plays well in the postseason there, and then he comes into spring training and he crushes against the other minor leaguers, then yeah, he'll start in Everett.
Yeah. I guess my only other note, and just quickly before we wrap it up, it was a little bit of an underwhelming year for Celestine. I think next year is going to be pretty important for him. He just didn't lift the ball a ton, didn't hit the ball out of the ballpark a lot. Look, he's so young and he's got so much time. And obviously, if you ever watch Felnine take a batting practice, it does sound different off his bat. And you know he's got all the potential there and you know he's got the talent. But I think next year in Everett's going to be pretty important for him putting it together. Mm-hmm. Because again, this guy and his ceiling has the chance to be the best prospect in the whole system. That's what the ceiling is. There are evaluators who have said the pure talent on this guy is Julio level. The pure talent is Julio level. But he's got to put it all together.
His stats in Everett, 602 OPS.
Very small sample, yes.
Very small sample. Yeah, but even in Modesto, for his bigger sample size, it was a 733 OPS. The slug was 384. So yeah, I think it's going to be a development, I think, all along. The defense, I would imagine, is going to take a step up as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had some up and down games in the field this year. There's no doubt about that. Early in the year, he had a game where he made, I want to say 3 errors in a game. So yeah, he's young. He's a young prospect with a lot of talent, but we know it's going to take some time. I would just love to see next year be a big year for him and him really take a jump.
And development is not linear. A lot of these guys we talk about in the system are roughly the same age. Mm-hmm. So not everyone has the age 19 season at the plate that Michael Arroyo had last year. Just doesn't happen.
Yeah. Well, that was fun. We haven't talked prospects in a while, but with their seasons coming close to ending, it was good to put a bow on a lot of these guys. I'm sure some of them are going to get some very well-deserved awards out in Seattle at the end of the year. I'm sure we'll see some of them, which will be great.
And think about this. We didn't even talk about Cade Anderson, because what else are we going to talk about?
Well, the man is going to have... Yeah, the man needs to get out there and pitch, but that'll happen next year. Yeah. So, I can't wait. This is such a fun system. I think it was nothing but another big success for the farm system this year. And I think we're only expecting much bigger things ahead come 2026 and beyond for these guys. So I can't wait. It was fun to put a bow on these guys.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I answered my own question. I was like, are they going to make up an award to give Cade Anderson? I was like, no, probably not. He hasn't thrown yet.
They can't do that. I was going to say he hasn't thrown a single inning.
I know.
Well, but he had his time in Seattle this summer. He got to visit. He got to tour the city. He did all that.
And got to get roasted by Mariners Twitter.
What a place. Well, on that note, it feels time to end the show. It feels time to end the pod, doesn't it? All right. I think that just about wraps up this edition of the Marine Layer Podcast. You guys know the drill. If you want to listen to the full form podcast, you can do so wherever you get your audio pods. Please make sure to go download. Please make sure to go rate and review. Leave it 5 stars. Get those Apple Podcast reviews up. We love getting them. We love reading them. We'll read some on the show here if enough of you leave fun reviews. So go do that. If you're watching on YouTube, please go hit the subscribe button. Also drop a like, leave a comment on the video. If you're interested in everything else we're getting involved with, go over to our website, marinelayerpod.com. You can get your merch, sign up for our Patreon, check out our live show schedule. It's all over there at our website, marinelayerpod.com. And you can follow us across social media at marinelayerpod. That's TJ. I'm Lyle. As always, we thank you guys for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon.